Someone's car alarm is going off and it's really annoying because it's affecting how I think. It's just gone off. Fingers crossed it stays off. I've tried to record this video like 5 times already. Hi guys. Today I wanted to talk about psychosis. It has been something that has been brought up quite a lot recently in conversations I have had with a few friends. And I don't feel like I covered it enough in my psychosis video. So today I thought I'd sit down and talk to you about the hallucinations that I used to go through. I just want to say that if you don't know already, I take medication. I have been on medication now for 2 years, and that means the medication has completely stopped all my psychotic symptoms. I no longer hear or see anything, and since I've been on the medication and everything has stopped, it has helped my life massively. So I just want to put it out there that this is going to be a video about what I used to experience, because I don't currently experience it anymore. I first started to get psychotic symptoms when I was about 15 to 16 years old. I was in my final year of school and I was doing my GCSEs, and it's a stressful time for anybody. The first thing I remember was hearing a voice of a female. I'd often hear her voice when I was at home in the comfort of my own bedroom. I associated her voice with the name Lisa. Lisa was very, very mean. She was a very negative voice. She would encourage me to do things that I didn't want to do. Around the time of studying for my GCSEs, she would basically tell me that I was no good, I was a failure already, and that I might as well just give up already and not even take my exams. She would often get me to a point where I felt so depressed and so low that I had suicidal thoughts. She would make me scratch, bite, pinch and punch myself, which was really horrible. I remember specifically being in the bathroom looking at myself in the mirror, and her voice was basically telling me awful things about myself that weren't true at all. And I remember pulling my hair really, really, really hard. And it was basically her making me do it. I'm not like an aggressive person. I wouldn't do that to myself. And her voice made me do it. Like, she would make me feel so low about myself that I would do those things. So she was the first thing that I ever remember having happen to me. I didn't hear Lisa every day, but she was there. And to start with, it was probably sort of like once a month, and then it would happen on a weekly basis, and then it would happen sort of daily or every few days. And it wasn't something that I told my family about straight away, simply because I was trying to work out what it was that I was going through. I was trying to figure out whose voice this was. Was it me? Was it somebody else? Like, I really was so confused and I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't tell anybody for quite a long time. After I started hearing Lisa's voice, I also started to have other voices as well, but they weren't as sort of it's hard to explain. They weren't like so involved in my life. It would be, for example, I would go to bed and in the morning I would get woken up by somebody calling my name, and I'd wake up thinking it was my mum or something, and nobody was there. So very rarely I would get waken up or by voices, or I would hear my name being called. Then sort of more scary things started to happen, and I seen who I call the shadow man, and so it went from hearing things to then visually seeing things, and that was very, very frightening. The shadow man, he is very, very tall. He's very, very strong and powerful. He appears in low light, and he often has like a smirk or a grin on his face, so he looks happy at what he's doing. And he makes me feel this big. He makes me feel really, really small, and he intimidates me. So I used to see him not weekly, probably more like monthly, and he would just appear really randomly. So I remember a time when I was sat in my parents' living room and I was having a conversation with my mum, and all of a sudden he appeared in the middle of the room and just sort of walked a couple of steps. I seen him for approximately 5 to 8 seconds. He looked at me, gave me a grin, made me feel really, really frightened and really small, and like made me feel petrified. He would walk a few steps, like I said, and then vanish, and I would instantly be put on edge and be like, oh my god, I've just seen the shadow man, and it makes me all tense, and I just felt horrible. I never knew whether he was going to do something physical to me or whether he was just something that I would see and like for a few seconds, or whether he was actually going to do anything physical to me or talk to me. He never ever spoke, but he would just give me that horrible look and just make me feel like I wasn't alone, and that I had to watch my back because he'd be there watching me even if I couldn't see him. So that kind of almost made me feel a little bit paranoid. So in latter years, before I went onto medication, the hallucinations started to get really bad, to the point where I couldn't be left alone. I had to have help bathing or showering, and I was basically like a nervous wreck, and my whole family were so worried about me. I started to see what really frightened me, and made me feel like I had no control, and was one of the main reasons why I wanted to take medication, because I just wanted it to stop. I used to see little people sort of like this size. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Borrowers, but that's basically what they looked like. And I used to see them running along the countertop. I remember seeing one run and hide behind the kettle, and freaked me out to start with. I didn't know what it was. But then things started to get a little bit worse, and I would see them and I would then go looking for them, and that was quite worrying because I couldn't help myself. I was going looking for them, and it's like I knew that they weren't there, but it was really hard to kind of accept that, and I would still go looking for them anyway. So that was quite scary, and my parents and my husband got quite worried about that. I would also, it used to happen when I was in bed, I would hear a man and a woman talking, and I call them the couple because it was just them two, and I would hear them talking, and they were talking about me, and it was like I knew they were talking about me, but the actual information that they were talking about or what they were saying was muffled, so it was almost like they muffled it so that I couldn't hear them properly, like I couldn't actually hear words that they were saying, and they would keep me awake at night. I had the man stood in one corner of the room and the lady stood in the other corner of the room, and they were chatting across the room, and they would keep me awake or they'd wake me up, and that was frightening. And again, it stopped me from like going to sleep and things like that, and it made me really frightened to go to sleep. I didn't want to go to sleep at night on my own and things like that. Around the same sort of time, I would hear voices when I used to go to the shower, and this is something that I find difficult to talk about, simply because give me a minute. I find it difficult to talk about it because it affected my life in a really, really huge way. And not only was it extremely scary for me to go through, but it was also a time that was very, very difficult for my family. It was so bad that I should have been in hospital. And this is a video that I want to make separate to this one, about why I should have been in hospital and not at home. But basically, every time I go for a shower, most of the time, pretty much daily, I would start to hear voices. As soon as I turned the shower on and the water was running, I'd start to hear voices. And they were really frightening because I'd hear them, I'd try and tell them to go away, and the more I fought them, the more they fought back, and the louder the voices would get and things like that. And I remember banging on the bathroom floor and stuff like that to get my family's attention from downstairs. And when I did that, the voices would get worse, and it was just such a petrifying experience to go through. Like, it was like fighting with an unseen force, and it was extremely terrifying. It got so bad that it would happen all the time, that my family members had to be, like my husband or my mum or something, had to be in the bathroom while I showered because I couldn't go and have a shower on my own. So as you can imagine, that was just the worst feeling ever. It was like somebody taking your ability away from you. It was awful. It was such a horrendous time, and I really shouldn't have been at home dealing with that by myself. I shouldn't have had my family shouldn't have been dealing with that on their own. Hearing voices and seeing people or seeing things is a serious thing, and if you are going through it and you haven't told anybody, then you really need to go and get some help, because not only could it get worse, but it could really, really affect you. And I just feel it's such an important subject that should be well known about, and it isn't. I think people instantly think if you're hearing voices, then you're automatically like a dangerous person and you should be kept well away from, and that is so wrong. That is not the case at all, and this is why I want to talk about it so openly in my videos, to make people realise what is actually involved and, you know, what it actually is. But yeah, if you are experiencing it, then go see a doctor, go and see a psychiatrist, or talk to your friends and family about it, and don't go through it alone. You don't want to go through it alone. I'm really hoping that I covered a little bit more in this video than I did in my psychosis video, and perhaps, you know, brought some comfort to some people about it. I've really tried my best to mention everything that I can remember going through. It feels like a distant memory, and yet it's only like a few years ago, but I really wanted to just put it out there what I had experienced, because I know everybody's different. And yeah, I just hope I remembered everything. If I haven't, then I'll probably do like another psychosis kind of follow-up video or something like that. But yeah, if you have any questions or can relate to any of what I said, then leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, I hope this video can be of some help. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!